Welcome to this explainer. If you're heading to Phoenix as a pastoral or lay delegate for the 2026 LCMS Convention, well, you've got a massive responsibility on your shoulders. You're going to be sorting through hundreds of pages of overtures and resolutions. But don't worry, today we're acting as your dedicated research assistant. We're going to equip you to critically evaluate one of the most misunderstood mechanisms of the entire convention, Omnibus Resolution B. We'll look at what it means, what it might be hiding, and exactly how you can navigate it.
Okay, here's our agenda so you can follow right along in your Today's Business Issue 1 workbooks. We're covering 1. Decoding Omnibus Resolution B, 2. The Delegate Guiding Lens, 3. An item-by-item analysis, and 4. The Delegate Floor Strategy. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Decoding Omnibus Resolution B, the status quo trap.
When you flip through that convention workbook and see dozens of overtures grouped together in a single omnibus block, a really critical question pops up. Is the convention just managing its time efficiently? Because we all know floor time is incredibly tight. Or are they inadvertently burying matters that actually need fresh public clarity and debate? To figure that out, we need to define our terms. Omnibus Resolution B is totally different from Omnibus A. Omnibus A refers items out for future action, but Omnibus B? It's basically a declaration that the issues raised in a group of overtures have already been settled by previous conventions. It requires absolutely no further floor action. It's essentially an affirmation of the status quo, basically saying, hey, the Synod has already spoken on this.
And this beautifully illustrates the procedural weight we're dealing with here. Look, adopting an overture means you're taking fresh, active steps on a pressing concern right now. But adopting Omnibus B, that effectively declines the overture by saying it's already answered. And because it adopts all those prior actions as final, it effectively closes the conversation on those topics for the next 3 years. Boom, done.
Section 2. The Delegate Guiding Lens. Kingdom over Castle.
As we evaluate these grouped items, we can't just ask a dry procedural question like, was the previous action valid? We have to apply a concerned but fair missional lens. We call this the kingdom over castle mentality. You have to ask yourself, does placing an item in Omnibus B help the Synod responsibly serve local congregations and mission fields, or is it using a prior action to avoid a conversation that deserves fresh public deliberation? We want low control, high accountability. We want strong doctrine for outward witness, not inward institutional self-protection. So you have to ask, does the prior action actually answer the present concern missionally, clearly, and sufficiently?
Section 3. Item-by-item analysis. Witness, families, and pastoral care. Let's move to some actual case studies to see how this works in practice.
Let's look at our first Omnibus B item. It's Overture 1, 211, titled To Inspire Training for Witness. In plain language, this overture is basically asking the Synod to encourage witness training and equip everyday members for outward-facing evangelism right in their local communities.
Now, what's the proposed omnibus action here? As you'll see on page 54 of your workbook, Omnibus B points this overture directly back to a previous convention action, 2023 Resolution 101A. The convention isn't adopting the overture itself. They're pointing back to that prior framework.
So, let's do a quick prior action analysis. That 2023 resolution established a training program. The practical effect of leaving this in Omnibus B is that no new witness program gets mandated. The existing training just keeps rolling. Procedurally, super efficient. It totally avoids duplicating a recent resolution.
But delegates, here is your vital question. Does that previous action actually answer the current overture faithfully and sufficiently? Relying on a 2023 resolution avoids duplicating work, for sure, but it might also risk avoiding a fresh public conversation on how we need to adapt evangelism right now. I mean, are current programs like Operation Barnabas still hitting the mark? Do cultural shifts mean we need a fresh evaluation? That's what you've got to weigh. All right, next Omnibus B item, Overture 126, to strengthen Christ-centered homes through family discipleship work. The plain language summary? It's a clear call for resources and a renewed emphasis on parents teaching the Christian faith right at home. The proposed omnibus action for this one points us to 2019 Resolution 12-07B. The committee judged that the overture is sufficiently covered by that prior action, so it gets swept right into Omnibus B. Let's analyze that prior action. If this stays in Omnibus B, the 2019 resolution remains the governing directive. The practical effect is that there's no new Synod-wide initiative or funding for family discipleship. Now, 2019 established a solid baseline, absolutely. But think about it. The post-COVID family dynamic has shifted drastically.
The pressures on the home have completely evolved over the last 7 years.
So we have to ask again, does the previous action actually answer the current overture faithfully and sufficiently? Leaving this in Omnibus B respects the Convention's time and encourages local implementation without top-down micromanagement. That is a very valid perspective. But you have to decide, do families today need updated strategies and new support systems rather than just pointing back to 7-year-old directives? Does this need floor time?
Okay, our final Omnibus B item for today is Overture 437. This one is highly sensitive and deeply pastoral. The plain language summary here is that it reaffirms opposition to couples living together outside of marriage. But, and this is key, it specifically asks for support for pastors and congregations who are actively striving to lovingly call people to repentance, give absolution, and provide faithful care on the ground.
The proposed omnibus action treats this as a completely settled issue, pointing right back to 2023 Resolution 511, which addressed cohabitation and pastoral care just a few years ago. Let's analyze that prior action's effect. If left in Omnibus B, the previous doctrinal baseline remains intact, but no new pastoral guidance is issued. While that 2023 resolution definitely provides the doctrinal baseline, anyone in ministry will tell you that the intense cultural pressure surrounding marriage and cohabitation goes up every single year. Giving pastors robust, on-the-ground support is a massive priority.
Which brings us to the core question. Does the existing resolution provide adequate, practical guidance for the men in the ground today? Upholding biblical teaching is one thing, but actively supporting the pastors navigating the fallout is another. You have to decide if leaving it in Omnibus B inadvertently buries a matter of intense pastoral care that actually deserves public reaffirmation to build local trust. Section 4. The Delegate Floor Strategy. Actionable steps. So what do you do about all this? If you look at these items, or any others in Omnibus B involving creation, university support, or governance, and you think a previous action just doesn't sufficiently answer a present concern, you have a voice. There is a real mechanism to act. Here is your exact floor strategy. Step 1. Identify the overture in Omnibus B that requires fresh deliberation based on your workbook reading. Step 2. Move to remove that specific item from Omnibus B before the Omnibus resolution itself is adopted. Once it's adopted, the door is locked for 3 years. Step 3. Be completely prepared to articulate at the microphone exactly why the prior action is pastorally, missionally, or practically insufficient today. By pulling an item out, you ensure matters of mission and doctrine get the transparency they actually deserve. Remember, efficient governance should never, ever come at the expense of faithful gospel witness. Respect prior actions? Absolutely, but don't treat them as untouchable relics if the mission field requires clarity today. So, as you pack your bags for Phoenix, ask yourself, which prior action will you challenge for the sake of your local congregation? The future of the church's mission might just depend on you raising your voice before the gavel falls. Thanks for joining us on this explainer.